You're listening to the Multiverse Fan Cast, proud member of the Misfit Faction Media Network.
All right then. On with the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Multiverse Fan Cast. Don't forget, you can take us on the go with Podbean, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, basically anywhere that you listen to podcasts and or your music. You can also find our content on the misfitfaction.com as well as Facebook and Instagram. I'm one of your hosts, Ronnie, and with me is Paul. Paul, how you doing?
I'm doing all right, Ronnie. How are you today?
I am doing well.
Are you sure? It sounds like you're struggling a little.
No, I'm good.
Okay, all right.
And to my left, we have Rob. Rob, how are you?
Oh, I'm on the left. Oh,
Yep.
Hi. Yes.
And your name is Rob.
And I don't know which. I should have listened to the whole sentence. Hi, Ronnie. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. We are here today. We're going to be talking about Batman Begins. But before we get into our discussion on that, we do have a wee bit of news with Rob.
No, I already went to the bathroom.
No,
Wow.
not that kind of wee-wee.
Okay, so I've got some news for you all. First of all, I'll end with Batman stuff. So we will start with Russell Crowe was cast in an unknown role in Kraven the Hunter. Yay! I can't get any excitement over Kraven. I you know what? If it was, I would even go so far as to say if it was a DC property, I might be excited about it. But the fact that it's in the Sonyverse does not get me excited in the slightest.
I like how Marvel now has 3 different versions of their stuff.
Like what? What do you mean?
Sonyverse, and then the
What's the third?
MCU
What's the third?
Spider-Verse.
I would even argue at one point it was the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff and all that. Like, all that stuff is considered not main continuity
Right,
anymore.
yeah, it's not canon or
Even
not.
though they address it in Age of Ultron.
I know.
So weird.
No, they didn't.
Yeah.
No, that was them doing their mind games.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
These
That
are
wasn't
not-
me arguing.
These are not the agents you're looking for.
So we'll see where that goes. Second, we have Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, The Punisher, and Crossover The Defenders are all taken off of Netflix on March 1st.
Very sad
Yeah.
about it.
So where are they going to go?
Disney Plus.
Let's hope Disney Plus. No, cough sneeze.
Yeah, right. But see, they're not Disney Plus shows.
Yeah, so is a lot of the X-Men. Logan's not on there, right?
Don't know off the
Yeah,
top
I
of my
I
head.
don't think so. But like Iron Fist, yes, that's Disney Plus-ish.
Because
But
it's bad.
yes, but like Jessica Jones, Luke. Maybe you can argue Luke Cage is kind of, you could see that being a Disney Plus show, but like Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and Punisher, that's like way opposite side of what Disney would make, But I mean, again, hopefully it's there and we don't just lose those shows. 'Cause
Right.
those shows were really good with the exception of one.
I think they will. See, here's the thing is that Disney, there were rumors of maybe about 8 months ago that Disney Plus was going to create a parents only section to it where they were going to, because don't forget, they own all of the 20th Century Fox stuff, which is stuff like, the Alien, I don't want to say trilogy, but whatever it is.
Simpsons
series.
Yeah. And they own some R-rated stuff that they just have sitting in a vault right now and they don't know what to do with. But so there's rumors that it'll be like a parents only, that you'll have to have like some sort of authentication or password.
What's that
or
club
something.
that they have in Disney? It's like the secret club.
Oh, there's like
Club
a parent
23 or
club.
something like that. Yeah, something like
The
that.
adults only or something.
But we can't say adults only for Disney.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh.
Ugh. Those are two things you don't want in the same sentence.
Walt's friends.
So that is, we'll see where they end up landing. I obviously with, Daredevil and what's his name? Big guy.
Kingpin.
What?
Kingpin.
Kingpin, thank you. Both being officially in the MCU now.
I speak
That's
Rob.
where you were
Well,
going.
thank you. He speaks Rob. We'll hopefully see them crop up more and more. And maybe just to help settle our fan nerves, it'll show up in the Disney Plus first. So
Yeah.
So this next one is something, and I don't know too much about. Collider is reporting this, or I'm sorry, Deadline is reporting this, that director Wes Ball is signed on to direct an adaptation of Valiant Comics' Harbinger for Paramount Pictures. And I bring this up because it is, of course, a comic, and we are a comic book show. So the comic is set in a world where a race of evolved superhumans known as Harbingers exist, and one of the most powerful Harbingers recruits and trains others to be a part of his private army to carry out his goal of conquering the world. And a young Harbinger joins forces with a resistance group, and they want to fight back and everything. And so it was a valiant comic series by Jim Shooter and David Lapham, and it ran from 92 to 95 and then was rebooted in 2012 and ran until 2014. So we don't know too much about it yet, and I'm not familiar with the comic. I'm not sure if you guys are either. Yeah, we're all shaking our heads. But it being comic news, I thought I would mention it. It is being directed, for better or worse, by Wes Ball, who did the Maze Runner trilogy, which is, yes, that's dystopian. So at least there's that. I don't know. Have you seen any of the Maze Runners?
Saw the first two.
I was gonna say, I think I saw the first one, maybe.
You and I saw. I think we saw the second one in theaters
Did we?
because we yelled at a bunch of kids who were too loud.
How old are you?
Oh, this was like 2 years ago. No.
No. I will always argue that at a movie theater, it is totally acceptable to talk up to and including the trailers, right? Within reason.
Yeah, there's reason.
But you get 5 minutes into the movie and a group of people, I don't care if they're kids, adults, whoever it is, are actively talking and loudly. I'm going to say something.
Shake your cane at them and call them.
No, I just threw my walker at them.
Hey,
It was
you
a
little
really
young whippersnapper.
It was a tough walk back to the car, but I was all right.
So we'll see where that goes. And then, Academy Award nominations came out, and Spider-Man got almost nothing.
Yeah, we just did an episode on Cinematic Adventures about the Academy Awards. That's this week coming up. And we mentioned that superhero movies still continue to get the shaft.
Yeah. I'm not too surprised. Spider-Man was a good movie, but I wouldn't necessarily call it Academy Award winning.
I would have argued at least a Best Supporting Actor nom for one of the many characters in that movie.
Yeah.
Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin.
Yeah. Okay, I might agree with that.
I'd even though very limited screen time, I would even say Andrew Garfield.
Yeah, that's possible too.
He's too busy trying to get his own Academy Award.
Well, yeah, I know, the nerve. I'm looking at the Best Supporting Actor list, and yeah, he could have. There's room in there for him. If J.K. Simmons can get it for being the Ricardos, they easily could have gotten him in there.
Yeah, I mean, I would even argue like Tom Holland puts in his best performance as Peter Parker, and like he's had very good performances, as the character. But the scene of him and Norman fighting on the platform at the end, like still
Oof. So, the only superhero things that came out were, of course, in the best visual effects category, and that was for Spider-Man and for Shang-Chi.
Yep.
Which is, it is what it is. We'll see. Maybe if the Batman is as good as we're hoping it is, maybe that'll be up for something. Stranger things have happened. So,
no, that season hasn't come out yet.
And next on my news is then finally DC. Now, I should say this with a caveat. So first, let me get through all of this, and then you can comment on it. DC released a sizzle reel. A sizzle reel is where it's not necessarily a trailer, but it's just like things to get you excited for future projects. And they had new footage in there from Black Adam. They had new footage in there from Aquaman. And
it's posted on our Facebook.
Yes, there was footage in there from the Batman, which I don't think there was anything new. And then what was the fourth one? Flash. Thank you. There were some new things in there. Now, I say let me get through all this because we are recording this the morning of the big game. Are we allowed to call it the Super Bowl?
Yes, we can.
Okay. And there are some commercials that are going to be coming out during it, and there are rumors of commercials. We're not really sure which ones. There's possibly a Black Adam commercial coming
Probably
out.
a Doctor Strange.
There's going to be because The Rock is doing something at the Super Bowl.
Oh, is he?
Yes.
Okay. So that's why I'm saying, the sizzle reel is great, but by the time this comes out, it will be, old news. So just remember that. Mm-hmm. Feelings about the sizzle reel?
Aquaman was in there too.
I mentioned
he did.
Oh, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Because we all forgot about Aquaman.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm excited. It's a weird time for DC, and at least, they're making stuff and they're putting some effort into it. Whether or not it's going to, continue with their current continuity or if they're going to do a full reboot and a full rebrand. It just sucks because the Justice Society was featured finally and they look great. Hawkman looks good.
Oh, is that what that was?
Yes.
I wasn't sure. I saw a guy with wings.
You see Hawkman, you see Dr. Fate in his full
that
regale.
I did see, yes.
Which I'm super excited about. I'm a very big Dr. Fate fan.
That's cool.
I enjoy the character, and I still say that he can take Doctor Strange in a fight. But I don't know. I'm excited. It looks interesting. Still not really sold on the Flash's new outfit. It's
with
Yeah.
the little shieldy things in his eyes.
I don't mind the shieldy things in his eyes. Like there are plenty of times like
visor or whatever.
Like Batman should always have I like the white eyes for Batman, but they're just very hard to translate on screen. You know, the closest we get is Christian Bale in The Dark Knight.
Right.
But for me, like it's exciting, but also big old grain of salt with it because just I hate getting excited for DC stuff. It's really. As much as I will defend the Snyder Cut and all that stuff and, you know, all those previous movies, it's still really hard for me to be like, but it's fantastic cinema. So
I think the thing that shocked me the most with that sizzle reel was the suggestion that the Batman is in continuity with these other films.
I think after Flash it might be.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
I
I
wouldn't
was
be
wondering
surprised.
that too.
Yeah.
Ronnie, thoughts?
To be honest with you, it got me really excited and hyped up. I mean, that's what it's supposed to do. But kind of like what Paul was saying, and you know, you too, Rob, it's still DC. You know,
Yeah,
and
they've let us down before.
yes, with
Marvel has too. Let's just throw it out there.
well, yes, but DC
not
more
at the same rate.
Yeah, I mean, what in the past 15 years, you could pick out like
Yeah,
a couple DC, but you could pick out a lot of Marvel movies.
Yeah, Marvel. What are we at? Film 27 now, and how many of those have we been disappointed in out of the DC ones? How many? Have we
26.
I was going to say we've been disappointed in as many Marvel movies as we have enjoyed DC movies.
Yeah. All right. I'll take that.
And that
Yeah.
and again, and
I think my eyes just cross-eyed.
and I am a bigger DC fan than I am
Yeah.
Marvel, but but with movies that's different. But you know, so it's kind of like it got me excited. I like what I saw. Like Paul was saying, the Flash's suit, I'm still in debate about. I don't like the
It's
yellow sunglass lenses that drop down.
It's giving me Green Lantern vibes, being so almost animated
Yeah.
when he's moving. It just doesn't. Maybe the effects just aren't 1,000% complete.
because we're still what
Yeah, I'm looking. At
8 months away, 9 months
What
away.
is it? I'm looking at the suit. What is it that you don't like?
I think just seeing it, not in pictures. I think just seeing it in film format, where it just, you know, it looks so CGI instead of more like practical. I think, at least for me, I'm not going to speak for.
Well, I
Paul,
also
but-
liked his suit in Justice League. Yeah, I thought it was
Yeah.
enough of a departure from the Flash TV show.
Right.
So for me, like, I don't know. I'm just. It looks weird in the motion that we've seen.
Yeah, just curious to see what it actually is going to look like in the movie, not just in a sizzle reel when you still have 9 months left.
Yeah, and we should remember that it is far away. It's all the way in like December, I think is
Like
it
November,
December?
December,
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that.
So there's a lot. The fact that they're showing us any footage is.
Well, that's
Yeah.
another movie that's probably been in the can for a while, and just with COVID and everything,
they shoot those things in the can. Why would not shoot them in the living room?
I hate you so much. I hate you so much, Dad. Dad joke. But the whole other side of the table is dad jokes. Just nothing but dad jokes. But for
be our
Well, wait a
dads.
minute. This side of the table is Dad's, so I guess that tracks.
Yep.
this side of the table also controls the microphones. Let's all keep that in mind.
Yeah,
But,
but you're too far. Reach them right now.
I'll move. I will move. But for me, like, I don't even know what we were talking about at this point. But no,
And that wraps up the news.
No, the Flash has probably been done for a while, and just with COVID and everything,
Yeah.
and with DC just not knowing what it wanted to do,
They're
I
just
think
playing the waiting game. Like,
at this point,
oh,
probably.
you know what? This didn't really work out too well with Batman. Let's go and change something in Flash.
I've played
you
the
know?
waiting game. I don't like playing it. I prefer to play Hungry Hippos.
And there we go.
Now
that
that wraps up the news.
All right. Well, thank you, Rob, for that little bit of news. Don't forget, everyone, that we do have an affiliates page as well as a sponsorship program through our Podbean account for the MF Uncensored podcast. Paul, you want to tell us a little bit more about those programs?
Yep. So if you guys are an aspiring podcaster or somebody who wants to start podcasting, doesn't really know how to do so, where to start, if you guys go to podbean.com/misfitfaction, you can get a free month of podcasting as a gift from us for being a loyal listener and by using our code. So if you guys are interested, please reach out to us. Also, we always love to hear about new shows. We have plenty of new shows in our network, and we have our Facebook group that we just started where we have people who do podcasts in there, and they've been a lot of fun to interact with and learn from. Or if you guys have a product or service that you guys offer, maybe you're an online coach, you have a book that you want to advertise. We also do advertising through our website. If you go to sponsorship.podbean.com/misfitfaction, you get $100 worth of free advertising, again, as a thank you from us to you guys for being such loyal listeners. So those sites were sponsorship.podbean.com/misfitfaction or podbean.com/misfitfaction.
Well, thank you for that. You did a great job.
Thanks, man. I didn't rehearse it at all.
It's all right. We never rehearse anything.
That's clear.
That's fair.
But we are going to take a quick break. But when we come back, again, we're talking about Batman Begins. But first, a quick break.
Today's episode is brought to you by Raise Energy Drinks from Rep Sports. Whether you're trying to crush your afternoon workout or just need a little extra pick-me-up, Raise Energy is just the boost that you're going to need. So if you go to repsports.com and any product that you order, enter the code MISFIT89 at checkout to receive 15% off. Anything that you guys buy from that store helps our network grow, and we fully appreciate everything you guys do. That's MISFIT89 at checkout, repsports.com.
Welcome back. We hope you had a nice break. We are going to jump right into our conversation about Batman Begins. So this movie came out about 17 years ago, almost 17 years ago, right? Back in May of 2005. You had it directed by Christopher Nolan. Screenplay was by Christopher Nolan and Goyer. Initial thoughts on the movie, Paul?
No, I don't want it. No, I think Batman Begins was the best decision at the time. I still think it's a solid movie. It still holds up. Some questionable choices about Batman, which we'll get into because, I mean, obviously we're talking about this to get excited for the Batman, yes. So for me, I enjoy this movie for the most part. It definitely has its faults, and obviously we'll touch a little bit on some of the other two movies in this because really we're talking about Christian Bale's portrayal like we did Michael Keaton's portrayal. So for me, like it's a good movie. It's a good series with some big faults to it.
Mm-hmm. Rob?
I had not rewatched this film. In fact, I think this might have been only the second time I've ever seen it. And the first time I saw it, I was not much of a superhero comic book fan. I always kind of wanted to be. So it was really fascinating going back and seeing this years after having developed such a foundation. I liked it a lot more than I thought I was going to when I rewatched it. It's a very solid, even film. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's good. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a great, fantastic piece and everyone should see it, but it doesn't quite hit the heights that I would like it to hit at times. Mm-hmm. And at times it's so methodic and procedural that it's not exciting at all, but it is a lot of fun and it's fascinating to watch and it's a great character study. And I will argue too that it's better than most because it's thematically rich. Like it's all about fear and the role fear plays in our lives, and there's a lot going on there from Nolan and Goyer.
Yeah, I kind of agree with both of you. You know, I think this kind of set the tone for the trilogy, and part of me actually wants to argue this is the best out of the trilogy.
Better than Dark Knight, you're saying?
I can see arguments made because I think with the Dark Knight, it's really just the Joker that makes the movie what it is. Yeah. While this, like, it's like perfect. Like everyone like flows. Like there's no like overshadowing of one or the other.
Yeah, it's even.
Like Scarecrow is like scary and you know like demonic almost, which you know for not really being like a well-known villain. You know, like he instills that fear in you, you know, obviously with gas and not just who he is, but a mix of both because he's not there mentally. And then like you said, like the thematics of it with, you know, your fear and everything. Again, the only fear that's kind of stupid is the bats. Fear. Like I get your fear of bats and everything, but like to me that wouldn't really necessarily be a fear for him. Like that, I don't get that. Like you fell. If you didn't fall, you wouldn't have been fearful of the bat. So really, I would be like,
imagine if he was just scared of heights.
Like, yeah, like heights or falling or something, you know. Like, but I mean, I just think overall, like,
My enemies will know my pain. They just
Yeah.
push them over ledges.
but again, no one really outshines anyone else. There's no one in this
Yeah.
cast that, like, I would replace.
And I would also agree with you in the sense that this is the most Batman-y movie of the Batman trilogy. Like it is all about him and his growth and his arc.
Yeah.
And you get to see him as a character develop over time. It's not about the villains.
Yeah.
Which is kind of neat. So yeah, I might lean towards that. I think I still love The Dark Knight more, but I could totally agree with you on your points.
Yeah. All right. So that's kind of our initial thoughts with it. Let's just jump right into it. Christian Bale. What do we love about Christian Bale, and what do we dislike? Because I feel like there's really nothing to really hate about his portrayal, but there's plenty of love, but not too much.
I like Christian Bale. I think his character of Batman is not the smartest Batman. Especially like we don't see a whole lot of detective stuff from him. Like physically, he does a great job. Like I think he had just done The Machinist before this too.
He did,
and like he was like 80 pounds or something. Ridiculously
he was
gross.
120 pounds. He was at 180, and he lost a third of his body weight.
Yeah.
For that,
And then he got like up to 210 or something.
Yeah, I read this morning. He was at 220, which was actually too much, and then he had to lose a little bit. But yeah, he is like the world's unhealthiest actor because he put on all that weight to play Dick Cheney. Also,
and American Hustle too.
He's gonna die from like cardiac arrest for what he's putting his body through.
Every movie he's in, he like takes to heart, which is awesome.
He's very much a method actor.
But it's like at one point, it's like, dude, like, it's
slow
not
down.
good for your body to be doing that year after year.
But yeah, I find that this Batman, there's some great scenes in this movie that are just fantastic. Like the scene on the docks where he first like does his I'm Batman thing and he takes out all the goons. Like that's still great. You know, the where are you?
Yes.
And like that's very Batman and stuff like that. But as far like Bruce Wayne, I never really found likable in these movies. I like how he does his playboy persona. You know, I like how he created that like he should for the Batman versus Bruce Wayne, like who's the real. But like, I never got that sense like with so many other Batman stories that usually it's Bruce Wayne is like died when his parents died and he is Batman.
Yeah.
And in this movie, especially in the second one, and then obviously into the third one where he retires twice. Like I just for me that's not the most Batman aspect.
Yeah, I like that because Christopher Nolan grounds him into a sense of realism. Like I really feel like this could happen. That someone could do this and be like this. And I was looking at the science behind it also this morning, and like I think it was Forbes. They determined how much it would cost for him to be Batman. And it was like $3.5 million, which. To be honest, if he's a billionaire, that's actually affordable.
Right.
Yeah. I also saw there was a list that came out of the top 15 fictional most wealthy people, and he came in at number 7 with $6.8 billion. I don't know who the others are, but
I think T'Challa is number 1 on that list.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
But I liked the realistic, and I also read that all of the technology that he uses is based in real military technology.
Yeah.
And I like that this could actually happen. I also like the fact that he is, I have to say, that's why I like he's not very Batman-y in terms of detective work, because it kind of tracks a little bit with Batman Year One, and I meant to bring it today, and I totally forgot. They look like, from what I can tell, they might have pulled actual scenes and sequences from Batman Year One. Like the scene on the fire escape, I believe, is directly from Batman Year One.
Yeah,
and like him learning how to do and getting injured and everything, like it's grounded. Whereas I will concede on this that a lot of the MCU is not, it's fantasy, and even Tony Stark, for as wealthy and brilliant as he is, you're like, come on, that kind of technology would never exist and everything. And so I do like that with Batman, but I seeing his arc and seeing Christian Bale playing it is I found to get really attached to that character more so than I have in past Bruce Waynes.
Yeah, I did not like the Bruce Wayne that we had, and I feel like you're supposed to like Bruce Wayne and fear Batman, but also respect both of them. And in this, he was a complete jerk, you know,
Yeah.
in this. Like, there's nothing about him that you liked at all, you know, like from the moment he buys the hotel because the two girls are swimming and he writes the check
Right.
and goes, I just bought this. Like, that's, to be honest with you, that's something a billionaire would do, but it's also like, that's not what Bruce Wayne's supposed to be. You know, he's supposed to be a philanthropist. You know, he's supposed to give back and everything, and you don't see any of that in this trilogy.
But they bring it up in the third one where he just assumed that the Wayne Foundation was and like that's another thing that bothers me because like he becomes a recluse at the end of the Dark Knight, which was not what any of us wanted. Like we wanted him to still be doing his Batman thing. Like
But that was part of the sacrifice that he had to make for the city.
But I thought that, like, a lot of us thought that it would just mean that he would be very, like, you know, Arrow did it a bunch of times where Arrow was like on the side of the law and then off the side of the law, but he was still operating. But so that I can't, because I like Batman better when he doesn't have the best relationship with Gotham PD, and because like in all honesty, Batman is not supposed to be a very likable guy. Like Batman he's kind of, and we have an episode planned where we talk about Batman's supporting cast and the Bat family. Rob's very excited about that one. Just to talk about Alfred and Commissioner Gordon. And we didn't even touch base on Commissioner Gordon because him and Batman have a great relationship throughout this series. Yeah. But for me, like, I like it better when Batman's kind of on the outs with people because for him it's the mission. And I think it looks like for Robert Pattinson's, they've done a lot. They've started doing their interviews and their press tours. I try and stay away from it as much as I can, but like they keep saying that this Bruce Wayne he's already a recluse. Like he's like a loner that nobody really knows. And like a scene came out where I think he's talking to the mayor of Gotham, and she's like, you know, your family has a history of philanthropy, and yet you don't seem to be doing anything for this city. And you know, obviously, as the audience, we're like, ha ha ha. But for me, like, I don't mind the Playboy persona, but I do agree that there are a lot of parts of Bruce Wayne that were missing because that's what happens when you have a trilogy and you have a limited amount of storytelling.
See, I see that though coming in the second one when he starts backing Harvey Dent and trying to push, you know, throwing his
but see,
galas for him.
I'll argue that because he did it for completely selfish reasons. He did it because he thinks that Gotham would be better with him and he can then stop his mission and get with Rachel. Like he actually says that.
Yeah.
So and that's I hate Rachel Dawes. I was not a fan of Rachel Dawes.
Okay. So I found out that Rachel Dawes was a David Goyer creation.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, that she doesn't exist in the comics.
Nope.
Which is something I didn't realize. So you're anti-Dawes?
I'm anti-Dawes. And it has nothing to do with Katie Holmes' portrayal in the first movie versus Maggie Gyllenhaal. I like both actresses. Anytime that Batman's mission is not the focus of a Batman story, we talked about it with Keaton. It was a throwaway line about Vicky Vale. Because that, in all honesty, and I'm not trying to downplay any significance of any characters or especially female characters, but for Batman, it's the mission. This is what I have to do, and we see it. I think we see it the most with Ben Affleck's Batman because he goes too far on that mission, and Superman has to kind of reel him back, and Martha. But for these versions of Batman, you know, I think Michael Keaton's was a little bit better, where it's like I have to work, I have to do this.
So your ideal Batman is one that is playboy and philanthropist and trying to do good for the city, but then at night is doing detective work.
I would be totally okay with it. I don't need a Batman with love interest, or I don't mind a more complicated Batman. Like we see it. We're going to talk about Mask of the Phantasm next month or next week, excuse me. And they bring up the idea of Bruce Wayne not being Batman in it, and like, don't I deserve to be happy? Don't I deserve to lead a life? And obviously he doesn't.
Interesting. But speaking of Martha, how do we feel
Why
about...
did you say that name?
How do we feel about seeing the death of the Waynes?
Still not the best death of the Waynes.
No?
Yeah.
The Snyders?
I would say the Snyders.
Visually.
Visually, and also because it's like... Zack Snyder does great opening scenes and great opening montages and stuff like that. Like Watchmen is still considered one of the better ones. Like, again, if they had just done that for Batman vs Superman and like had it just juxtaposed against Superman doing something really light and colorful and like, you know, saving the cat out of the tree while Batman's hanging a guy out the window, like that would have been a great opening montage. But we see the death of the Waynes. It's a little bit more It's more impactful because there's a lot more dialogue to it. You know, there's tension. We know what's going to happen, but it's still it's a good scene. And obviously, Bruce Wayne feels a certain amount of guilt for it because he has to leave the show. I think they're watching Dante or Faust. I think some sort of.
That's a great question.
I think it's part of the ring cycle.
I don't know,
Yeah.
but there were demons. They looked like bats. Kid got scared.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not Zorro. Isn't Zorro supposed to be the movie?
Yeah, in
Yeah.
the comics, they've done them like some sort of because he takes a lot of inspiration, obviously,
Right.
from Zorro. But
Yeah. I just asked the question because I know we see it all the time in Batman.
I don't
Everything
think we're going to
that-
see it in this new Batman. Thank God.
Yeah. So,
We hope.
We hope. Oh,
all right.
David Goyer's not on board for any of the Batman, is he?
I have no idea.
I don't think so.
I have ranted about him in the past. I will give him that he does seem to understand Batman because he doesn't understand pretty much any other character. He doesn't understand Superman. He doesn't understand Green Lantern, definitely.
What do you mean?
So, I was surprised to see his fingerprints on Batman Begins because it's actually capable. So
Yeah.
maybe he understands it. But maybe also Christopher Nolan evened him out too. I can't believe this about Christopher Nolan. He's such a household name, but when he did this, he had only done like 2 major films. He did Memento, which I don't know if you've seen Memento.
I do enjoy Memento.
I teach Memento in the classroom and in my film class. It's a fascinating study of screenplay structure. And he did Insomnia with Al Pacino and Robin Williams. And that that was it. He at this point, he hadn't done The Prestige. He hadn't done Inception or Interstellar or Dunkirk or Tenet.
That kind of kick-started him.
Yeah, so that's cool that they trusted him with so much here. And it is got a lot of Nolan touches to it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Another question I have for you, gents. Take the Joker out of the trilogy, all right? Because we all know we would say he's the best villain. Who do you have as the best villain in the trilogy other than Joker? You have Scarecrow. You could put Falcone in there.
I'd say
Bane.
Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah?
I like Ra's al Ghul because he's a good example of the dark mirror aspect in comics. For those of you guys who don't know, most villains are some sort of dark mirror of the hero. But for me, I don't even consider him a dark mirror. I consider him what Bruce Wayne was on his path to becoming, and Bruce Wayne chose a different path. Does he kill him at the end? Abso-freaking-lutely. But he said, all right, let's also establish this Batman does kill. Like people die in this movie as direct results from Batman's action or inaction.
You have almost the entire League of Shadows die.
But I hit it with the fire stick. It wasn't me. The fire killed them that I started.
They could have gotten out. That's their fault.
Well, the fake Ra's al Ghul does die, and you see it.
Ken Watanabe's character.
And I would still argue that the Batman has resuscitated the Joker. Like, Batman has given CPR to the Joker because he will. In the comics, they play around a lot with how strong his moral code is. Am I fine with a morally ambiguous Batman? Sure. Like, especially like I'll still argue Ben Affleck's Batman. He's too far gone at that point, and he needs to get reeled back in. So I don't have a problem necessarily, but like I hate that they make this whole "I'm not gonna kill anyone" rule so like he kills Harvey Dent.
Yeah.
Like
It kills a lot.
It just bothers me that I don't even remember what your question was, but yes,
I
said who's the best villain we've had?
I would say I like Ra's. Yeah, Batman. Head turning. Ugh, you want to be able to turn your head.
So you say
I say Ra's al Ghul. Yeah.
What about you, Rob?
That's tough.
Again, take out the Joker because I feel like we would all say Joker, but
I mean,
you don't know who you would pick.
I like the construction of Ra's al Ghul, but I'm never crazy about Liam Neeson's portrayal of it. It's a little stiff and just okay.
It was before Taken, right? This movie? I think
yeah.
so.
I think Taken was
before
briefly after.
badass Liam Neeson.
Taken was like 08?
Having
maybe?
never been taken by any of those movies, I don't know. I've never seen it taken.
The first one is fantastic.
I don't think I've seen a single Liam Neeson revenge film actually, and there's a lot of them.
Yeah, there are.
2008. Yeah.
Okay.
Look at me.
Look at you.
I like. All right, I do remember liking Liam Neeson in there because I remember seeing him in Darkman in Sam Raimi's film.
That's a good one.
Which is one I have us looking at. I have it on the schedule for a few months when we do Sam Raimi's Doctor Strange. But he's a little too. I don't know. Who played Ra's al Ghul in Arrow?
Matt Nable, I think is his name.
Okay. I sort of remember him a little bit. Oh, yeah. I think I liked that Ra's al Ghul a little bit better.
Really?
Yeah. Scarecrow seems to be like, see, I want to pick Scarecrow, but I think he completes his arc in this film, so I don't know if there's anything more to do with him.
And then he's just fun in the other two.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it is Matt Nable. I was right.
Okay.
Look at Joe.
Wow. I don't know. I think you know what? Hold on. I got it. I know what the best villain is.
Warner
And
Brothers
that
Studios?
That is Gotham City Crime.
Okay.
I think that's one. This is an argument I have in our house a lot with The Dark Knight, that I still think The Dark Knight is a great film, even if you take Heath Ledger out of it. It's a great crime saga akin to Michael Mann's Heat, and I love him struggling with the crime aspects with the Falcone fan. Now I don't know if Carmine Falcone is the best. It's pretty good. And who does Eric Roberts play in The Dark Knight?
He plays Maroni.
Oh, Maroni, right. Okay. I like the warring crime family aspect. That's very comic bookish.
Very Batman Year One.
Yeah.
Did you hear about the retcon they did for Batman Year One?
No.
The scene. So in Batman Year One, there's a great scene of him crashing a dinner party.
You're talking about the comics or the animated?
Both. It's in both. But where he crashes a dinner party.
Yes.
And apparently they retconned it that recently he says that he was so scared in that scene that he actually wet the Batsuit.
Okay.
Dumbest retcon they could have ever done. But that just made me think of it.
Oh, okay.
Because I love the idea of having that warring crime family and Gotham's the city that's suffering. And I do like how we do see more of the more grounded street fighting. I love seeing Batman saving civilians, and I think we touched about it a little in last week's episode where we talked about he's stalking the rooftops, just going after muggers and stuff like that. And I think that's an interesting, because unfortunately, especially with Batman vs Superman and all that stuff, he got lost in kind of the bigger DC world, which again we don't have a problem with. We like seeing Batman standing shoulder to shoulder with gods basically, but also we love seeing him just beat the crap out of petty criminals.
I think that's my answer, is that it's crime, and it's also just his own morality. He's constantly fighting up against that. And like you said, he does kill people in this. And so that is something. And I have to say, something I didn't really realize, and I forgot to mention last week, Tim Burton's Batman kills people when he goes into that factory.
I mentioned
you
that.
mentioned it, and I didn't believe you. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
There's a
blows
video
up a factory.
with all those guys right there.
Yep.
But there's a video. They do a kill count video of all the Batmen, and it is excessive.
Oh, yeah.
But it's really funny because they show the nightmare sequence from Batman vs
Oh,
Superman.
yeah. It's just
But then
ding.
when he wakes up, it was just a dream, so they take them all away.
Yeah, I think that probably makes sense for Nolan, why he would direct this, because he is all about individual personal struggles, and I think that's why I liked this Batman so much. This film Batman Begins so much is because it is him struggling with his ideals, his morality, and trying to bring bringing a sense of justice to a chaotic world.
Mm-hmm. I think it was better in the second movie though, where he's really struggling with I thought I was making a difference. I thought I was making things better, because that's always the biggest question about Batman is who creates who. Does Batman create? And they bring it up at the end of this movie with the escalation.
Yeah.
And the Joker tease, which is still one of the best teases of all time. It is still really good. But that's always the question: does Batman make the city safer?
Right.
And that's why if you watch the uncut version of Batman vs Superman, that's a question that's brought up a lot. Clark Kent goes to Gotham as Clark Kent to do investigative reporting, and the people of Gotham are the first ones to be we love Batman, but also he's getting worse.
Mm-hmm.
So I found that was an interesting aspect that they haven't really the people of Gotham probably love Batman.
Right.
They feel safer with him than they do with their own police department. which is
I liked a lot in this one too that of Thomas Wayne and how he was an influence on the city and his train, and I love seeing the degradation of the train as the film goes on. It just gets more and more graffiti covered and everything, and it's a mess. But it reflects, that he had similar intentions to his own son, and that idea of passing down that idealism to your children, which is a neat theme. Again, this film is just so thematically rich.
Can we also just point out that Batman's only like 25 when he starts?
Yeah, he's 30 when he has his birthday party. Yes, the cake says 30 on it.
Interesting, because he was in college when he left.
They said he was
7 years. He was gone.
He was 22 when he left.
Yeah,
and 7 years.
And Rachel
so
says you've been
young,
gone for 7 years.
Yeah, so he's young. He's like a younger Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can honestly say I don't think I'd be Batmaning 4 years ago in my life. Now everybody knows I'm 34.
I got a question about Thomas Wayne. What does he do?
He's a doctor.
He is?
Yes, he remembered his.
So, but that's what
He
I'm
specifically
confused.
says he works at the hospital, but his family, like the board, runs the company.
Right. Remember, he's got the stethoscope.
Yes. Yeah, because that's what I was trying to figure out. I was like, wait, he's a doctor in this movie, but
he's like the head of the board of doctors when he's got lots of old money.
Yeah.
Well, like I'm sure Wayne Enterprises is still a company. It's still going and it's still doing
But
this.
would it in the comics? Do they ever say what he is? Because
I
I'm
think
pretty sure in
a few-
all other iterations, he's just like a businessman. He owns.
They've done
and now
different
he's
iterations. Like unfortunately, like the Waynes, they don't usually go too much into. It's not like they tried to do that. Like that's a weird story trope that they've done in the past. Like Peter Parker's parents were actually spies for S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff like that. Like, but as far as I know, Thomas Wayne, most of the time it's Doctor or just the head of Wayne Enterprises.
Here's according to BatmanFandom.com.
Oh, no.
Thomas Wayne was the father of Bruce Wayne and husband of Martha. He was a well-known surgeon, philanthropist, and CEO of Wayne Enterprises, which he inherited from his own father after his father made patents on an industrial technology, which he invested in real estate, making the family billions.
Yeah. So I think Wayne Enterprises is just like the company that just keeps and then like every Wayne is probably encouraged to do their own thing. Because I do like how this is the most we ever get to know Thomas Wayne.
Other than in Joker.
Still have not watched that movie in its entirety since.
Really?
Did
you see it once in its entirety?
I saw it once.
Oh, okay.
Melanie and I, producer Melanie and I went to the theater, and I will say that only the last 20 minutes was worth the viewing. The second he puts on the makeup.
Yep.
And then otherwise I was like...
20 minutes more than me.
And you know what? I know we're not talking about Joker, but in all honesty, like for that, Sean and I were just talking about it on Cinematic Adventures because we were talking about the Academy Awards and stuff like that, and we're like, he deserves all the praise for his acting in that movie.
Yes.
But that movie is not that like
it's derivative of Taxi Driver and King of Comedy.
It's not Joker. I have a mental issue.
It's Martin Scorsese light.
Yeah. But going back to this discussion, I do enjoy that we learn a little bit about Thomas Wayne. We see him as a father, and even like other characters like Alfred, I think has way better material in these movies than he did. Like as much as we like Michael Goff and the Burton ones and the Schumacher ones, I like Jeremy Irons. I really do because
me too.
Jeremy Irons, I just don't think he had enough time to shine. We've talked about this, but he also seems like the kind of Bruce or the kind of Alfred to like literally be like, "You're wrong, dummy," to Bruce Wayne. They've been working together as Batman and Alfred for 20 years, and obviously he's known him. But in this movie, I do find that it's very like he's very eager to help, and he's like, yeah, whatever you want to do, like I'll help you. You can take the roles if you want. Like he's jokey, he's funny.
He's a father figure.
I don't like what they do in Dark Knight Rises with him.
Oh yeah,
where he just like halfway through the movie, he's like, "I'm not helping you anymore."
You could have you didn't have to add with him at the end of that sentence. You could have just said, "I don't like what they do in the Dark Knight Rises."
Okay, thank you.
So, fun fact for your fanny pack.
Oh boy.
Sorry, I was just turning
Ready for this?
Rob's mic
Thanks.
off.
Nolan offered the role to Anthony Hopkins
Of Alfred.
originally of Alfred.
Really? There you go.
Yep. And then he declined it, so then they went to Michael Caine.
I also heard that Jake Gyllenhaal almost got Batman, which that would have been really awkward in the second movie.
Yeah. They probably would not have casted Maggie then.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, that was unfortunate that Katie Holmes couldn't return. I did like Katie Holmes' portrayal, and I know they wanted her back, but it just didn't work with scheduling.
And also, the fans were not very receptive to Rachel Dawes.
Yeah.
And I can get why. Rachel Dawes is a very, like, almost jarring character who just constantly like talks down to Bruce, and it's not even holding him accountable. It's just sometimes it just gets mean.
But I think that's kind of what he needs, at least in what we see of this Bruce Wayne, where he's this egotistical playboy, and everyone's like, oh my God, you're the best because you basically own Gotham City. So it's nice to have somebody to be like, actually, you suck right now. Do
But
better.
I think what sucks about it though is like we're watching him become Batman and like try and save the city, and it's like I think maybe just as an audience member we just don't like it because like he's Batman.
But she doesn't know that until the end of the movie.
Right.
Because it's not what he does. Or no, it's not who I am underneath. It's what I do.
That defines me.
We didn't even talk
like,
about the Bat voice.
Bruce.
Yeah.
I was more okay with the Bat voice this time.
So we were talking off air
Yeah.
about this, and Rob brought up, he was like, why do we always bash this voice? It's
Yeah.
actually not that bad. I'll agree, in Batman Begins, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
With the exception of the
With the exception of the duck
But he's-
lips.
to me.
Yeah.
swear to
But
Mary.
it's just from
Swear to me.
Dark Knight on, that's where it's
Yeah.
what everyone remembers.
All right, maybe that's
You know, though.
gargling.
Where are they?
Yeah.
Yeah, so for that, just another fun fact from your fanny pack. In the first movie, Christian Bale did all the Batman voice himself, as was the customary choice for Batman. Like every Batman tried to, with the exception of Clooney, and we'll argue Val Kilmer, he does a little bit, but most of the Batmen have had some sort of change in tone. Kevin Conroy was famous for it as Bruce Wayne in Batman, and just really well known for it. But this was the first movie, or excuse me, in this first movie, he did all of it by himself. You know, he had his Batman voice, which was a little bit lower and more gravelly. And then he had like his Bruce Wayne voice. And then even like when he was like just him and Alfred was a little bit tonally different. But then in The Dark Knight, because it just ruined Christian Bale's vocal cords, like he was in like agony, they digitally changed his voice, and that's why it's so gruff. But he still, obviously on set, he still did a little bit, but that's how we ended up with those weird Batman duck lips.
Well, because he didn't like the suit.
We'll talk about the suit next if you want, because obviously
we could
talk
talk
about
about the
bat suits.
Yeah. I know Christian Bale says he did not like the bat.
Most Batmen have said that they
Yeah.
hate them. I think
I'm thinking you're pitching a new idea here for the sequel to the Batman.
Batman.
The Batman.
And
it brings in all of them, and it's part of the multiverse.
Well, I
from
can't
the Flash.
keep saying Batmans.
The Batmans.
The Batmans.
The Batmans.
But Ben Affleck even said like he ran into Christian Bale Halloween shopping, and he asked him, he's like, "What are any advice?" And he's like, "Make sure you can take a piss in that suit," because that was a thing. Like he could not go to the bathroom in it.
Yeah.
I would even argue that I like the first suit better than the Dark Knight Returns or the Dark Knight and the Dark Knight Rises suits. But that's just me.
I don't notice those things. You're the aficionado on that.
So in the first movie, he basically gets a bodysuit, right? And it's like, Lucius Fox pulls it out. Oh, I got 12 of these. But he gets a bodysuit and he adds just some minor alterations. Like he colors it, he adds the bat logo, and then they have to order their own helmet, which is even funnier because they have to order
10,000 of them.
at least less. And then they're broken too. Which I hate how there was no payoff when he headbutts Falcone.
Yeah.
Imagine if it just cracked. He's like crap. But and it was the traditional helmet attached to the suit. So when
Non-neck
Batman
turning.
yeah.
thing.
So in the second movie, he wanted he got plates. So it's more like an undersuit, and then the plates go on top of it. So he is able to move.
Yeah, I think they've reasoned that out with the dog attacking. He says something that dogs can't get through.
He does
Yeah.
ask about how it would do against dogs, and he goes, and Lucius Fox says, should be good against cats. And we're all like, but really, it really was just so that he was able to turn his head. But unfortunately, I will argue that these bat suits are the least comic booky. They're very tactical, very practical, but like I miss like the
Very militaristic.
and I miss the bat symbol. Like sometimes it's hard to even see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think also because it's like that motorcycle helmet style with the actual cowl.
Yeah.
That sometimes it's just jarring the shape of it, and sometimes it looks weird how like looking at Christian Bale's face in it. And obviously they do the eye makeup around it, so which finally we're gonna see.
Finally.
Yeah.
Which. Fun fact from your fanny pack. We did Halloween 3 years ago when I went as
Yes.
the Green Arrow, and I had actually put the eye makeup around, and it's a long process, and
Yeah,
it's
I
an
bet.
annoying process. Like, and also I don't like people touching my eyes. Our friend Daniela actually did it for me, but it looked much better than if my eyes were just.
I want to
plain.
say I remember some movie where an actor had to put that on, and he has a spray that he just goes right across his eyes.
I know what you're talking about. I just can't remember off the top.
where.
But also, Kick-Ass.
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage actually would put it on before he put on the Big Daddy suit and the fake goatee, but which I thought was a genius touch.
Yeah.
But the best is in Batman Returns when he goes to rip his cowl off and it goes shot to shot.
It doesn't
and then,
match up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's bad.
Can we talk Batmobile?
Yes.
You mean the Tumbler?
The Tumbler
Yes.
that Christian
you
Bale
would-
was not
you
allowed
wouldn't be
to
interested
drive.
in that.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
It might be my favorite Batmobile.
Yeah.
Because it's practical. See, and this was I remember I was complaining about this last week with Tim Burton's Batmobile that it's large and clunky and can't make turns.
Mm-hmm.
This one it's practical. It's something that actually exists. It can do these great speeds. Like it's practical, but it's also and this is why I don't know if I like the new Batmobile yet because I have to see the movie. But from what I've seen in the commercials, it seems so Mad Max-ish.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. It seems more style over substance, whereas this one is all substance, and it is stylish, but only as a result of its creation.
Because it comes in black.
It does come in black. I still argue that I like the Batman vs Superman one for the only scene that we really see it in. I still love that Batmobile.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. See, I think I like this one better because it kind of goes with his suit. His suit was based off of actual military equipment,
Right.
and then the Batmobile or the Tumbler, let's say, is an actual military vehicle. So like it all meshes together, while everyone else is like, oh, this is like a militaristic kind of suit, but we're gonna give you like a puny little car. Like it doesn't mesh up with the styles, and this one I think does it perfectly.
I will still argue though that there's a severe lack of bat branding on everything.
Oh, absolutely.
I
What are you
love
talking about?
Yeah,
Well, because it's only what, a month in of being Batman.
I'm
Yeah,
talking
but
about
even?
throughout the entire series though.
Yeah, but
Oh, okay.
he's that. All right, if we actually had a Batman, he would not be about advertising himself. He would be about stealth.
I will disagree with
He
that.
advertised himself in this movie.
Only in the through
With
word of,
Falcone.
only with word of mouth though. He says, tell all your friends about me,
He puts Falcone on the spotlight and creates the bat.
right, but that not in an attempt to get fans
Why
from
not?
Gotham.
to send a message.
Right.
I do also I don't like the severe lack of the Batarang because I love the Batarangs. They're
Yeah.
such a staple of Batman and Michael Keaton used a lot. I never really realized how many Batarangs he actually used.
All of them.
He had the remote control one,
Yeah.
like he had all the trick Batarangs.
Shoot, that was my last one. Let me go get it from that bat guy.
I know, right? Good thing I have a rope attached to it. But
And I don't understand the practicality of batarangs because unless it actually hits like there's so much on the batarang that isn't sharp and pointy that I feel like there are so
like-
many times it would hit someone and just bounce off.
It's like
of
a
them.
throwing knife. You get really good at being able to throw a knife and landing it point in to
But
stick.
throwing knives, you don't spin through the air. You
uses
usually
it-
do it like underneath, like this.
I'm sure
Whereas
he
a
also
batarang
probably-
spins through the air.
he
and
probably frisbees it too. He uses them more as like throwing stars in this. But
if that's the case, then it should be more pointy around it.
I think it's sharp all over. You see him sharpening the whole
he does
edge.
go around, the
Yeah.
whole thing.
Yeah.
But I still say the Batman vs Superman ones. He only uses it like once or twice. Those ones look like they do some damage.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I just remember the Flash holding it.
I
Yeah,
remember
keep
it.
this.
I remember during the warehouse fight scene, he takes one out and you hear it like as he opens it, like you hear like the sharp blade sound and then
Yeah.
just that whiz and it hits somebody's and they're like because like those things are sharp.
Those things, yeah. So, all right. Final thoughts before we get into our Star City rating with Batman Begins, the trilogy, and then obviously we've been talking mainly about Christian Bale. Final thoughts, Rob.
I like Batman Begins a lot because it's about Batman. It's not about the villains. And in fact, all of the people in Batman's life represent some aspect of his personality. The Scarecrow represents all of his fear. Ra's al Ghul represents all of his ambition. Rachel Dawes represents his empathy. Alfred represents his common sense. And so as a result, all of these figures in his life are natural extensions of his own personality. And you see him struggling externally with these people as he's struggling internally with these aspects too. So I love Batman Begins because it's such a complex film in terms of a character study and a man trying to do the right thing in a world of injustice. I think Christian Bale was a great choice in this. And I think he's very much sidelined in the next two movies, unfortunately. The Dark Knight, there is sort of a mirror aspect between him and Heath Ledger, which is good, but Heath Ledger absolutely steals it completely from under him. And because Christian Bale, I think, just isn't given much to do in The Dark Knight, or enough to do. Whereas here he is. And you don't remember Batman Begins for Ra's al Ghul or for Scarecrow. You remember it for him learning to be Batman and coming to terms with this, trying to form his idealistic intentions. I love the military aspects of it. I love that it's practical. I love that it's grounded. I don't love how sepia toned the entire film is. It is all brown. I don't know if I didn't really realize that until I saw it, and where that brightens up. But again, this is Christopher Nolan's only really his third/fourth first main film, and its first big budget superhero thing. So I loved it a lot more than I remembered it, so I recommend it highly. That's my final thoughts.
All right, Paul?
For Batman Begins, it is an underrated movie. It kind of gets lost in the shuffle of the whole pantheon of not only Batman movies, but also superhero movies at the time. This is 2005. So this is the same year, Smallville's still big on TV. We had our Spider-Man movies, our X-Men movies were there, but this was DC's first real big jump into, and everybody thought that this was going to start there. Everybody thought this was going to be their Iron Man. Like this, before Iron Man obviously came out. Like that, this was going to jumpstart, especially with Superman Returns. Everyone, around the same time, we were all like, "Wait, does that mean are the two?" Like people were excited. This was a very exciting time for movies, but unfortunately, I feel like people forget about this movie. I love this movie. I really, as much as I'm like tearing things off about it, but this movie it's got some great shots. Like I love the shot of when Rachel Dawes tries to taser him, something small like that, and he's just standing there like, come on now. But stuff like that, and I will argue the fight scenes are really bad in this movie, especially when he's Batman. You don't see them.
It's very close and edited down.
Really, we don't get full in-your-face fight scenes until The Dark Knight Rises. And he does this weird elbow up thing the entire time, where he's fighting where his arms are really high in both movies too. This and The Dark Knight, but it was a great start to a franchise that it's in a league of its own, the Dark Knight trilogy, and as much as I bash on the third one, it's still a solid film series, and this is the one that started it, so I really do enjoy it. I can put it on, I can watch it, and I think that's what I got.
All right, awesome. No final thoughts on Christian Bale?
He's not my favorite Batman, but he does a great job. Especially in this movie where he is learning to be Batman, and he's jumping off a building, he's like, "Oh, my knee!" Stuff like that. But I will always say that Christian Bale is not my Batman. He just isn't.
Hashtag not my Batman.
Yep. He has some great aspects of being Batman and Bruce Wayne and all these things, but for the most part, Ben Affleck kick his ass.
Yeah. See, this is the problem with going last in these things. Is you guys say everything, but
I got more to say. I can give it to you.
Nah, it's all right. I got some stuff, but I'm just saying, a lot of stuff I want to say, you guys said. Again, like I said earlier, I can see arguments, and I could kind of be on the side that this is better than Dark Knight, but I think just overall, this trilogy is probably my favorite trilogy or series of movies out there, whether MCU or in the DCEU, DC, whatever you want to call it. I think this is probably the best because you actually get a continuous story throughout, and you see the growth in Batman and in Bruce Wayne throughout all three movies. I think it's great. Every villain, you could argue maybe Bane wasn't the best, but I think between the first two movies, you have some of the best villains out there possible. And then Christian Bale, I don't know. I don't like him at all, to be honest with you. I think it's the Batman voice in Batman Begins, like we said earlier, isn't terrible. It's actually pretty good, but then it just gets worse and worse as the movies go on, and that to me just knocks it down if I can't understand.
Especially
what
when
you're
he's doing
saying.
the Batman voice by himself.
Yeah.
Like after Catwoman disappears. Oh, so that's what that feels like.
Yeah. It makes no sense.
I feel bad for Christopher Nolan for that third movie because that wasn't at all what he wanted.
No.
And they kind of forced him into it a little.
Yeah, it's sad. All right. Star City ratings.
3.5.
Okay.
It is a well above average film. I think I gave the first Batman, the 89 Batman, the same rating.
Probably.
Yeah, it's a solid film. I enjoy it. The story's good. The intro. I mean, it's the first time we actually saw the intro, like how he becomes Batman on the big screen. So
Yeah.
I enjoy aspects of that. I enjoy seeing, the bumps and the bruises and him having to do push-ups every morning and like all that stuff. So 3.5. Yeah.
All right, Rob.
I am going to give it 4. I think it is a very strong movie as a superhero movie, but also strong as just its own movie. I mean, I'm just looking at this cast, and this is what's great about Christopher Nolan is that he brings such A-list actors, and he brings out their best too. Look at any of his movies, and he's got just a great group that and they constantly work with him, which I think just attests to Christopher Nolan's abilities. We didn't even talk much about Gary Oldman or
We're saving that for.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about Rutger Hauer, who is in this, which is awesome. I read this that
Morgan Freeman.
Christopher Nolan sat down the cast before they made the movie and made them watch Blade Runner together, and then he said, "This is going to be what Batman is like." And then he has Rutger Hauer in there, which is amazing. Yeah, you've got Morgan Freeman, Katie Holmes, Ken Watanabe, Michael Caine, just so many
Stacked
actors.
cast,
Yeah, and giving their best performance too.
Yep.
Like they're just so great, and I love the realism behind it. I love how grounded it is. It's a great psychological study. It isn't very comic booky, but I think that actually works towards its in its favor.
Yeah.
It is one of the very first grounded superhero movies that we've seen too, and I think it was such a trailblazer and groundbreaker for 2005 that I have to give it 4 stars.
Yeah. I'm gonna agree. I give it 4 stars as well. There's not too much bad about this movie, but it's just a 4 because there's other movies that that are similar that are better. Like, even though I'm saying this could be better than Dark Knight I would rate higher than Batman Begins.
Same here.
But part of me would watch Batman Begins over Dark Knight. Speaking of Dark Knight, actually Heath Ledger was going to play Batman in Batman Begins too.
I read that too. Yeah.
Imagine if that was to happen, he could still be alive. They say that the Joker is what he did. He got so method with it. That's what kind of
went too deep down the rabbit hole.
Exactly. Imagine if he would have got this, and then Nolan told him no. He was like, "No, I don't think you're cut to be Batman." But
then that makes me think of what actor might have died instead of Heath Ledger.
yeah, if one would have,
Yeah.
I want, but it's sad either way. But yeah, I definitely give this a 4. I think it's. The cinematography in this is beautiful. I mean, did it win an award for cinematography?
It
or
was
it nominated?
Yeah, it was nominated for. You're calling me out on this. I was just looking at this.
I'm pretty sure it was cinematography. What was it? Academy Award for Best Cinematography. It was nominated for. Yep.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah. So I mean,
which is a big change because then The Dark Knight I think was up for 8 awards.
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, this is probably one of the best sets of movies you have out there. But yeah, I definitely give this a 4 as my Star City rating, or dare we say Gotham City rating. I mean, we did it last week. Last week we called it Gotham City rating.
You guys call it Gotham City.
No, you did. You were the one that
wasn't
started
in
it.
charge of the show.
All right, but that's going to wrap us up for our discussion on Batman Begins and kind of just the whole Dark Knight trilogy as well as Christian Bale. But before we go, we're going to go to our Facebook and check out our Fan Feedback Friday.
All right, so this week it was who has the best Batman voice and who has the worst.
I do.
Yep. I didn't get a chance to put mine down, but I will honestly say that Kevin Conroy has my favorite Batman voice.
You're welcome.
I will say that. And I hate to say it because everybody's... Actually, I'm going to say George Clooney was the worst.
That was my answer.
I know, I did it on...
Did you just copy me?
That was my
No,
answer.
I-
He is the best.
Get out of here.
What?
No, I was going to say Christian Bale, but George Clooney just... Hi, Freeze. I'm Batman. You sound like Bruce Wayne. No, I don't.
No, you sound like Bruce Wayne.
All right, we have Ben Affleck.
Bruce Wayne.
Your face is Bruce Wayne.
So anyway, general consensus was actually pretty surprising. Ben Affleck the best. Everyone else, we can't understand them. That was funny. Do I even need to say Bale was the worst? We all know it. As far as the best, I have to go with Batfleck. But let's see what the Batman gives us. Trailers make me think. Christian Bale for the worst, and I don't have a best. Thank you, producer Melanie. Kevin Conroy is the best. George Clooney is the worst. This one I liked. Lego Batman as the best.
Oh my gosh, that's it.
And George Clooney is the worst. We haven't even talked about Lego Batman since we did the Lego Batman episode.
You can't.
Will Arnett as Lego Batman rules.
Oh,
he has got the best voice.
I don't think so.
Iron Man sucks.
Because he's got the same voice as Bruce Wayne.
I'll give you that one, yes.
Yeah, but he's
That's
very
the only
rarely
thing.
Bruce Wayne in the movie. He wears the cowl at home.
Whatever.
Lobster Thermidor, my favorite.
But that is going to wrap us up for today. If you want to take a listen to us or find more content from us, Paul, how can the people do that?
Well, it's pretty simple. If you were to Google the Misfit Faction, you'll find 42 different ways probably. But first and foremost is our website, themisfitfaction.com. There you'll find links to all of our different shows, not only the Multiverse Fan Cast, but also MF Uncensored and Cinematic Adventures. You'll also find links to different reviews, different articles, about us, photos, all sorts of cool things. That's just our website. You can also find us on Facebook. You can search the Multiverse Fan Cast. There you can participate in our Fan Feedback Friday. That's every Friday around 8 a.m. ish, and you'll always see it posted there. You can also join our Facebook group, the Misfit Faction Media Network. You can join our YouTube channel, the Misfit Faction Media Network. You can also find us on Instagram, the Misfit Faction, or you can find us on Twitter at Misfit Faction.
And coming soon to the website, there might be a surprise. So be on the lookout in the next.
We announced it last week.
We did?
Yeah, we mentioned it in the
We did.
It wasn't supposed to be. You're supposed to surprise me.
You were here when we did it.
I asked you.
Anyway,
Okay.
be on the lookout, I guess, for our merch store.
Merchandising.
Which-
merchandising.
I don't know. I saw Paul snapping some pictures, so
I do. There is a
Possibly.
picture, so check our Instagram.
check out the
Multiverse
Instagram.
the
You might be able to see some of our product that's going to be on that merch store. But that's going to wrap us up for today. I'm Ronnie,
I'm Paul.
And I'm Rob.
and we'll be back in a flash.
Swear to smorgasbord.